Welcome to Meet the Masters, Georges Seurat, a fascinating impressionist that developed a technique all his own. He had a very scientific study and theory of color, and he believed that the eye would combine colors together to form new colors. So his technique of tiny, tiny dots, painstakingly applied, became known as pointillism. He loved working outdoors in places where we would see people relaxing or having some recreation, and especially by water, as you can see here, and a boat. Today we're going to do some waterscapes, actually, with some land in the upper levels, and in the beginning level we're going to do a boat. Let's begin by looking at our learning from pages the children have seen. We begin by talking about warm and cool colors. Seurat filled his paintings with dots of many colors. Use orange or yellow to color the dots in this circle. Use blue or purple to color the dots in this circle. Now we ask the children to make a decision. Circle the shape that seems cool. Draw a square around the shape that seems warm. So they're having to decide which of these groups is warm and which group is cool. Press very gently on your crayon to color the circle. Color over it again very gently with a different color. You have made a new color. How many different cool colors can you make? Try to fill each dot with a different cool color. So they may begin by using just green on its own and blue and purple, but then they're going to start combining them, and they will find by using different pressure they can even get new cool colors. How many different warm colors can you make? Try to fill each dot with a different warm color. So they're going to end up with a circle full of cool color dots and a circle full of warm color dots. Dark and light colors. Cool colors make us think of nighttime. Color the dot with a dark, cool color. Warm colors make us think of daytime. Color the dot with a light, warm color. Now we're asking them to color the boat with warm colors. They may even decide to do warm colors on the sail, since it is part of the boat. And then color the water with cool colors. And notice we use the plural, so hopefully they've used more than one color in the water. And that's what we are going to do today. We're going to create a boat made from warm colors and the sky and the water using cool colors. And we're going to use a pointillistic technique, but we're going to use something to make it much easier for us. We'll talk about that in a moment. They're going to take a square piece of paper, and the first thing we're going to do is create some folds. If we put it on point, where the points are up and down, we fold it so that the point, it comes to the point, the bottom point comes to the top point, and we create the fold. And again, you want to keep this up here for the children to see as they're doing it at their desks, so that they can always look up here for a little confidence if they're not too sure about what to do. And you might even ask them, what shape have you created? A triangle. Once that's done, we're going to take this piece of paper, turn it, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to match the corners and make a really good fold. And once that's finished, we unfold it. And what have we created? We've created a cross, actually, in here, and we're going to use that as a guideline for beginning our drawing. With a pencil, and the children are going to use very, very light pressure, but you're going to use dark, heavier pressure so that they can really see what you're doing. Halfway between the center of the paper and the corner, they're going to put a little tiny dot. Now you're going to put a very large one so that they can see it. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Halfway between the center and the point on the right, they're going to put a dot, a very small one. Between the center and the bottom, they're going to put a dot. Now we're going to turn those three dots into the hull or the bottom part of the boat. simply by drawing a line from dot to dot, and then a curving line from one dot to the middle dot, almost to it. If it doesn't come all the way to it, that's fine, and all the way to the other side. So there's the hull of our boat. Let's do the mast. How tall will it be? It's up to you. I would suggest it not go all the way up to the corner, but it can come, very close to the corner. Now they have a choice for the sail. It's going to be a triangle shape. They may want to do, if you have a very young first grade class, you may just want them to do one sail on one side of the boat, or they may want to do two sails for an older second grade class. And you notice that here, the sails have been created with lines and leaving a space between the mast line and the sail for a more realistic sail. And some of these even have some curving, ruffled areas to make it almost look as if it's blowing in the wind. But again, the sail can be very simple, just two lines coming off the mast. Or it can be a little more complicated by looking like free-flowing sails in the breeze. It's up to you and the class that you're working with. I'll just go ahead and do some sails that are free-flowing and blowing in the wind. Very quickly done. These lines are very simple. They can be, you can correct them if you need to. I would suggest the children just work with the lines that they have made. Now, in creating the pointillism that Mr. Seurat did, he would spend perhaps years and years creating one painting because of each tiny dot that he would have to apply. We're going to do this in a much easier way by using sandpaper. And they can just put the sandpaper in front of them, and they'll have their paper on the desk. Now, they're going to be using crayons, and we need to talk about the colors. They were introduced to the idea of warm and cool colors in their learning from pages. So let's talk about them. Here we have all these colors. What are the two colors that the Impressionists would not have used on their palette? And they should be able to identify it. They've heard it's the brown and the black. So we're going to leave those two colors in our box and take out the other 6 colors. And since they've heard about it in the assembly and they've worked with these colors in their learning from packets, they should be able to tell you right away when you ask them, which are the warm colors? Right, the red, the orange, and the yellow. Which are the cool colors? The green, the blue, and the purple. And on their desk, they can actually keep one grouping of cool colors on one side and the other grouping of colors on the other side. It makes it much easier sometimes for them when they're drawing from the piles to work with. So how do we do this? We are going to take our crayon, but we're not going to use the point. We're actually going to use the end of it, that flat end, and lay it on the boat. We'll start with our warm color boat and start going from side to side. And as you can see, all those little tiny pieces of sand underneath now on the sandpaper have given us dots and bumps. There's the red application. Now to add another color, we need to move our paper just a little bit so that we have new bumps, that when we add another color to it, the new pieces of sand underneath create new bumps for us. And so we're going to add one more color, so we do need to move our piece of paper, and again, using the bottom of our crayon, go over and over and over so that we have a beautiful application of 3 different colors in lots and lots of dots that actually the sandpaper has created for us. Now we need to create the mast, and we're going to do it the same way using the bottom of our crayon. Go up to the top, and perhaps with all 3 warm colors. There we are. So that's the creation of the boat. Now, for the water, we want the horizon line above our fold line. It doesn't matter where the children put it, and this will give a lot of good individual expression. Some of them may have a very high horizon line. Wherever their eye takes them, they're going to create it, and they need to create it from one side to another. Once that's done, they're going to begin the application of the water, and they need to be very careful when they come up to the sail, because they do not want to get watercolor on top of the sail. We want to leave those sails white. So back and forth. And a trick here is that the heaviest application of color is right up here at the horizon line. And as we come down the paper, we're going to use less and less pressure. And we definitely want to be sure that we're getting our color all the way over to the edge, all the way around. But do remind them, please be careful. Don't go off your paper onto the edge of the sandpaper, because that will just grind up your color and you won't have much to use. Won't be much left on your crayon. So once the first application of cool color is completed, we can add the next one. And again, we want to have a heavy pressure up at the horizon line, way up there, and as we come down, we're going to use less. And remember, we're always constantly moving our white piece of paper so that we find new little dots to create the points for our color to drag on. And then the last thing we want to do is to add just a little sky color. We will definitely want to see a difference between the sky and the ocean that the boat is in. So we do not want to use the same pressure all over. We want to contrast, just perhaps the suggestion of sky. And if you have a little area in between the mast and the sail, you need to address that. Again, we will use heavier pressure right at the top, and then very, very little as we come down. All three cool colors should be used in the water. So we do need to add a little purple here and there. For the sky, all three colors do not need to be used in this area. Just maybe one or two colors. And when they're finished, they're going to mount it on either an orange piece of paper or blue. If you've had time and you can give them the choice of which one they want to use, wonderful. Otherwise, just pass them out randomly. Because we have warm and cool colors, they all mount up beautifully. And we use a little saying when we do these. Sometimes we use a thin line of glue. This time we're just going to dot, dot, but not a lot. So 4 very little dots of glue centered on this colored piece of paper creates a beautiful pointillistic project that did not take us years or even hours to accomplish. But we have the beautiful optical pointillism that Georges Seurat introduced to us. The intermediate and advanced levels will use the same sandpaper technique, but the drawings are much more involved. The Learning from Packet for the intermediate level talks about drawing boats. Start with a basic shape. Add a mast, make it taller than the length of the boat. Put a sail on the mast. So they've been asked to draw a sailboat in the box below. This is a little practice. They do not have to use this sailboat in their project today. Reflections. A reflection under a boat is the same size but upside down. It is also not as detailed or clear. Draw a reflection for the boat below. So they will practice just with a pencil here, drawing the reflection of this boat. And once this is done, they've actually done the major portion of what we're going to do today in the project. Here are samples of the intermediate level. You can see this student had a very, very light, almost mystical hand with the crayon and the sandpaper, beautifully executed. And here's a different type of a sailboat. See the different looks that one can achieve. It's really up to the children how they want to depict a sailboat. Here's a sailboat with a wonderfully curved sail and a straight sail. And of course the reflection is underneath as well. So to begin with, I asked the children to put their paper in front of them vertically. And I like to have as many samples for them to see as possible, and they will have their learning from packet as well. So the first thing we're going to do is to establish our horizon line, and I asked them, what is that line, the horizon line? They should be able to tell you. It divides the sky and, in this case, the water. We're going to place this horizon line above the midpoint of our piece of paper, rather high on the page. They will also drag their pencil across the paper, just like we did in the beginning level. And I will demonstrate to this level also. That's dragging your pencil across your paper. And I know that the first person in the first row cannot see it because it's so light. This is how you should do your pencil mark. Your next door neighbor shouldn't even be able to see it. But so that you can understand what I'm doing up here and demonstrating, I'm going to use a very hard, thick pencil line. So there's my horizon line. The next thing I'm going to do with my pencil, very, very lightly, once again, is to draw the boat. Now where I place it is really up to me as the artist. I can have it a little to the right, a little to the left, could even have it in the center of the page. We do want to see the whole actual boat. We will want to see the hull and the top sail. We may not, sometimes we won't see the total reflection, like in this project, because the reflection actually went off the paper, which is absolutely fine. And we do want to have this boat be rather large because it is the focal point of the whole project. So they can sketch the hull however they would like. We're not going to do any erasing. We're not going to put in any detail at all. This is not a project where we add detail. The dots that we have will be all the detail we need. Then we'll put in the mast, put in the sails, and again, they can design whatever sails they like. Some children are very sophisticated and can even identify what kind of a boat they have drawn. Now, fortunately, and I remind the children, you haven't made this big, heavy, dark line like I just did. So you're going to be able to erase this line that's going right through your beautiful white sails very easily. And unfortunately, of course, mine will always have that little trace going right through. But that's because I used such a dark, heavy pressure when I made that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is the reflection. And the reflection really should not start exactly up against the boat. There should be a little tiny space. And this is light. And it may not be exact. We don't have to worry about it being completely exactly a carbon copy or a Xerox copy. For one thing, remember, water is always in movement, so we won't have exactly, and especially if this is out in the ocean, we won't have an exact mirror-like quality. But we will have the mast, and I noticed that here, let's see, I can tell that this definitely is going to come off the page. So here's this, and now I'm starting my sail, and then this sail as well. And there I have this is all the drawing that I need to do for the intermediate level. Now, once this has been done, you will talk to them about warm and cool colors, not quite on the same level as you did with the beginning level, but have them identify the warm colors, and they'll do this very quickly, and they're cool colors. And what they will do is to establish their boat, and please do not use brown. What might you use to make brown? And we can talk to them about complementary colors in the color wheel. colors opposite each other on the color wheel, such as red and green together will give you a brown color. They can experiment a little bit with this. But you will need to explain how to use this sandpaper. Again, with the flat end of their crayon, going over the area, and then they're going to move it a little bit to add another color on top. They can experiment by adding some other colors as well to give this a real definite warm color. Once they've done the hull of the boat and the mast, then they need to repeat the same thing in the reflection, but perhaps not as dark. Notice the difference in the colors. This one is much more intense than this. The same thing with this one. The color here is much more intense than the colors down here. And the same with this. Much more intense, less intense. So once the color has been established here, it is repeated in the reflection, but less. The mast is the same. And then the water is begun and done exactly like we did it in the beginning level. Cool colors, starting at the horizon line with much more pressure at the top, gradually working their way down till there's hardly any color at the bottom of the paper. And then when they do their warm color sky, it will be the same thing. They're going to have a heavy application coming down until it becomes hardly anything at the horizon line. It will make that horizon line pop up even more when you have a heavy application against a very faint application. Notice the water here. It's not the same everywhere, and it gives the illusion of maybe a water current line in the ocean. The same here. You can see the application is very ethereal and very lightly placed. This has a much more painterly quality than this heavy application. This is really a better sample of the way Seurat would do his painting. This is a possibility. A little sun with some sunlight. Be very careful, it becomes almost cartoon-like though. This is a great idea, showing almost as if the sun has set behind the boat and behind the horizon line, and what we see now is just the last glow of the setting sun. Be very careful. Oh, one thing that the children have the option of in this level is not having white sails such as this. You can see some color was given to the sail, and that's certainly up to them as the artist. They can have colored sails. You notice from this level and even from the beginning level, when you have the sky color and the water color come up to the sail, we're just fine with leaving the sail alone and leaving it white. Be very careful and remind your students not to outline. This would have been much more effective had this student just had the color of the sky come up to the sail more, rather than trying to outline the sail. It has a very cartoon-like quality and does not have any semblance to the way Seurat would have done his painting. So this is a good, and if you have samples that are less effective, they're always great to bring in for the children to see. So this is the intermediate level. Again, the application of color is done the same way. The last piece of information for the intermediate level is in the reflection of the boat. They'll take their watercolor and lightly go over the sail so that we don't have a pure white sail here on the water and a pure white sail here. So they'll take the watercolor and actually go over the whole thing so it will really look like that reflection is down in the water. The advanced level has a much more involved drawing, as you can see from these samples. And the children have a lot more freedom with their own creative expression and what they would like to have their composition look like. You have a little section in your working with that I like to take into the classroom with me. And in talking to the children about what we're going to do today, I'll do a few quick little sketches on the blackboard. But first, to give you an idea of what they have done before you're arriving in the classroom, they've also practiced, just like the intermediate level, drawing boats. Start with a basic shape, add a mast, make it taller than the length of the boat. Put a sail on the mast, then add its reflection. A reflection under a boat is the same size, but upside down. It is not as detailed or clear. Draw 2 sailboats and their reflections in the box below. And we've talked about pointillism, certainly in the assembly, and here we're asking them to even expand on this for what they do. Seurat made a science out of color. He knew our eyes blended together dots of different colors. Try blending these dots as Seurat did to make a new color. Dots of, and gives you 3 possibilities, make a vivid sunset. And I'm sure they will know that these are warm colors, so it would be yellow, orange, and red. So dots of make an inviting forest, dots of make a cold ocean, and dots of make a blazing campfire. Complementary colors. Instead of using black, Seurat mixed complementary colors for the shadows in his paintings. Complementary colors are opposite on the color wheel. We've given them a little color wheel here. Color this boat any color. Using complementary colors, draw the reflection of the boat. So they've practiced some color work and the drawing of a boat, which they may or may not use in their project. Because let's take a look at these possibilities. They're going to have at least 1 boat in their project, preferably 2, so that we can add some depth. Here's a boat that's up close, and this boat is so tiny, so far away, that we know this is much further away in the distance. Here's another one, close up, far away. If they really only want to do 1 boat, that's fine, but it sure has a more professional quality if we have 2 boats in there. They will have land in their project, and they will also have some foliage, a tree, for instance. Now, with this little paper that you have in your working with, when I talk to the children about their composition, they can do anything. I like to go up to the blackboard and with a marker or a piece of chalk, I'll just say, for instance, you could have land coming down here. This could be your horizon line. You could draw one of your sailboats here. You may have a little one way much further away. So there's a possibility for composition. Or you may want to have the tree be a focal point and the closest thing along some land. And here's the horizon line. And here's another sailboat far away. And here we have the sailboat that's closer to us. And of course, these sailboats then will have their own reflection in the water. That's something you will add. And this, of course, this sailboat is so large and close to us, that we will not see the whole reflection. We'll only see part of it on the water, and then there won't be any reflection on the sand or on the ground area. Or we may have some land area. Here's the horizon line. But maybe we'll have some bushes. Maybe this will be more of a lake scene than an ocean scene. And may have a tree here. Now I'm doing this very quickly and very sloppily. They won't even have all of these lines in their pencil sketch. But again, it gives them a place to start. It gives them ideas. And again, this will have a reflection. So here are some composition ideas that they may use. They may just want to have a land, sort of a sandy land mass here, and their boats here. Maybe they don't even have their sails. Maybe they're next to each other. So by quickly doing this on the board, it gives them ideas. And if you have many samples to take in, even better. Now they have an idea when you say, make sure you have some land, water, sky, boat, tree, perhaps even some bushes. Now they have an idea of what you're talking about, so you can directly use this little piece of paper from your working with. They, of course, again, will be using pencil. And you definitely need to remind them that when they do their sketching, it's going to be very light. And you might even tell them you probably can't see this from where you're sitting. That's intentional because we don't want big lines in case you want something very light in color. But you may want to give them an idea by pressing down more heavily. Here's a tree. And I think I'll do my boat over here. So they've sketched it in, again, very, very lightly. And the technique is the same that you will demonstrate to them, starting with the boat, so to establish their main focal point. And the best thing for something like this is to put basic colors everywhere, rather than trying to make a complete boat finished, a complete tree finished. You can establish the basic colors because we can always go back and add more to it later. So for instance, in this case, I think I would establish the tree with some of my colors such as this. Add some red, and of course they're using the flat part of their crayon, the end of the crayon. I'm going to add a little orange as well. Then I'm going to take the complementary color and go, after moving my sandpaper, go right on top of it. Okay, now I've established the tree, and perhaps I did the same thing over here with my boat. There's the mast. Now I'm going to have to do the reflection. Not going to see much of a reflection here because the landmass is so close. Now I can tell already this definitely is not finished because the tree and the boat are looking too much alike. So that I'm going to have to refine this even more. I need to put some cool water here for the, cool colors for the water, perhaps warm colors for the sky. Again, very heavy application at the top, coming down with less pressure to the horizon line. Here again, heavier pressure at the top of the page, coming down with less pressure at the horizon line. The water, we will have heavier pressure right at the horizon line and coming down with less and less pressure. Establishing the reflection and going over the reflection with some of the watercolor, like we did in the intermediate level. Then you can start adding some shadows and even some highlights with colors. Look at the shadow of this tree right here. And there's some shading up in the foliage of the tree as well. We'll see some highlights and shadows in the advanced level. So once they've established and blocked in their color, then they'll be able to refine it and add more to give a contrast within the area. Rather than a straight green, we have shades of green with some blue here and there. So it doesn't look too flat because we did see a lot of beautiful variations in Seurat's pointillism. When the student has finished adding the detail of color and only color to their project and they're ready to mount it, we use the same technique that we used in the beginning level. And I even used the same saying with the advanced or the intermediate level. Just 4 little dots That dot, dot, not a lot. We don't need long lines of glue. And they should be able to choose whether they prefer the orange or the blue backing. Center it, affix, just, I don't know, once it's dry, it will be on and look like a beautiful Seurat pointillism.